Hey guys, it's Roscoe and welcome back to the Space Couch, which has returned to its usual orbit. So today I want to talk about space elevators. So let's start at the beginning. What's a space elevator? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. You would get into, say, a carriage or a capsule or whatever, and you would climb this cable all the way up into orbit. Sounds simple enough, not so simple to do. The idea has been around for about 120 years. It was first conceived by the Russian rocket scientist, the original rocket scientist, Konstantin Tsiolkovsky, who in 1895 went to Paris to see the Great Exhibition and was incredibly impressed by the Eiffel Tower, which it was either still under construction or had just been completed, and at the time was the tallest building in the world. And he thought, well, what if you could build a tower all the way up to orbit and you could launch anything you wanted for very limited energy? The problem with that, of course, is you can't build up that high. Even with our current technology, say with steel and concrete, you could probably only build a tower 10 kilometres high. That's nowhere near enough for a space elevator, which has to go 36,000 miles up. So basically, they had to put that on ice, and in the 1950s onwards, they started looking again at the space elevator. But this time they thought, instead of building upwards, why not put something in orbit and build downwards? That would be a tensile structure, you know, like a lot of suspension bridges, as opposed to building from the ground, which is a compression structure. But even so, there's still problems with that in that technology still isn't quite there. Carbon nanotubes are strong enough to hold the entire weight of the cable, but we've still only really done them this long, and again we need to have loads and loads and loads. So still problems there. Also, what do they call them? Diamond nanothreads. But again, I don't know if it's a case of, oh, let's throw $1 billion and learn how to scale this up and then we can just spin them out like yarn, or if there are problems when you scale up that would just cost an absolute fortune. It's one to watch out for, though, definitely, because sooner or later someone is going to figure it out. Obviously, the advantages of a space elevator: low-cost access into space. You just climb up the elevator, and once you get to the top, you can launch from anywhere. You know, don't have to spend all that money on rocket fuel, which is very expensive, and as you know, most rockets are very wasteful. SpaceX obviously is different from that. Eventually, I reckon, once the technology had evolved, you could probably end up running skyscrapers up and down these cables, you know, if the technology advanced that far enough. Another problem, however, is sooner or later, given that your cable's that long and that far out, everything that's orbiting the planet up to that depth, from dust particles to space stations, will hit the cable. It's unavoidable. That's just how orbits work. They go around and around and around, and eventually they hit. Now, they do think you could probably try and avoid this by having your base station at the equator on, essentially it'd be like a giant oil rig, and you could shift from side to side so the debris wouldn't hit the cable. I don't know. I mean, it does sound very complicated, but I mean, there's got to be a way around it. However, building one on the moon and building one on Mars, you know, that is actually, technically, that's possible with our current technology. Steel would work on both those locations, and obviously neither is anywhere near as cluttered as Earth. You know, so you wouldn't have that danger of things crashing into it. It'd be easier to reprogram the various satellites to avoid it, and hopefully not cause so much orbital debris while you're at it. There's a couple of companies that are interested in this. One is the Japanese firm, the Obayashi Corporation, who every now and again, and the last time was a couple of months ago, announced that they're going to build a space elevator by 2050. Well, that's great, but that's like saying, yeah, we're going to Mars in 30 years' time. It's not going to happen. Unless someone has a breakthrough now, they'll just say, oh, 2050, 2060, 2070. The other group that wants to do a space elevator but on the moon is a company called Liftport Group. They have done a lot of design work on a lunar space elevator, and they also take part in, I think, think it's the biannual or the annual Space Elevator Games, where people have mock-ups of the cable and the climbers that will go up it, and there's prizes to see who has come the furthest with their technology. So, as I say, space elevators probably the fastest route to expansion off-planet, because if you've got one up and running, you can just ship up pre-assembled space stations and ships, you know? Just go all the way up there. I mean, yeah, it'll take a week to get up there, but I mean, what's a week really when you're paying pennies compared to millions of dollars? Yeah, so that's what space elevators are. They come up a lot in fiction. Kim Stanley Robinson, in his Mars trilogy, has an excellent description of what happens when the cable snaps. It'll wrap around the planet several times and cause a lot of damage along the equator. In his book 2312, the Earth has got 37 of them. Yeah, and they also turn up in things like Arthur C. Clarke's Phantoms of Paradise. There was one that was located at the top of a mountain. They appear in Halo, and I think it was a Tom Baker Doctor Who episode that was set on a space elevator. I'm not sure. I haven't actually seen that one. You should also check out the short film Wanderers that's in my playlists on my liked videos, and that has a very good view of what a Martian space elevator would be like. So that's space elevators. I hope you enjoyed, and as always, feel free to like, comment, follow and subscribe. Peace.